Hello, everybody. I think it's just the three of us, but this is the pilot episode of Irvine's Genius Hour. My name is Darren Akakihara, and I'm an EdTech TOSA for the district. And today's guests are Mr. Scott Bedley. Say hi, Scott.
Hey, everybody.
And he's a fifth grade teacher at Plaza Vista. And you can kind of see Brandon there with a funny look on his face. He's actually doing a remote from Washington, D.C. He just landed 15 minutes ago, and we're going to, hopefully he was here a minute ago. He will tune in just a second. Today our episode is going to focus in on innovation, creativity, and risk-taking. And I brought these two fine gentlemen in to kind of tell us about how they cultivate those three things in their own classrooms, and some of the things that some of the like aha moments that they've had, and also later on give everybody a chance to ask them some questions. And since no one else is watching this, it'll just be the three of us talking to each other, which is also okay, because we've had many stimulating conversations, just the three of us. First, since we can't seem to get Brandon's connection right, we'll start off with Mr. Bedley. And how's it going today, Scott?
I'm doing well.
All right, can you tell us just a little bit about your thoughts on those three topics?
I think I'd like my principal to come over here and just say hi really fast. Is that okay?
Principal is in the house. Yes, absolutely.
Just acknowledge his presence so I'm not like turning my head all the time.
No, yeah, he's just standing over your shoulder there.
I think Darren, innovations just starts with being open to realizing you don't have all the answers. And I think the further along I've gotten in my career, the more I realize I don't know about teaching and education. And it drives me to want to learn more, I guess, is what really I'm trying to say. And so I think when you realize you don't have all the answers, sometimes you don't. Okay, so sometimes when I was in my career, the early stages, I didn't know what I didn't know. And as you move through it, you kind of figure out what you don't know, and so you try to start filling in those gaps. And I think for me, that innovation starts with filling in those gaps, seeing what's out there, and then saying, how can I use my classroom as a lab that's based in trying things that are founded in solid research. So I don't just try anything in my class and say, oh, this is innovative, but I'm really looking for ways that I can better improve student learning, and that's what becomes innovative to me in my classroom. So that could be a lot of different things. It doesn't necessarily mean it's technology at all. It could be anything that really makes a greater impact on student learning.
Hey, don't say that to the tech TOSA that you don't. It's not always technology, right? It's always technology.
The answer is always spreadsheets, I think.
So I heard you, what I heard was you are always learning. You're never at your destination. You're always trying to get better and better and better.
Yeah, and I think like the kids, we live in a time where there's more information ever on how learning happens and how it can happen in a better way. So to kind of overlook that information out there, to me, would feel like I'm doing a disservice to my families, of my students, and my students themselves. So to really be mindful and look at what research is telling us on how kids learn, and then figure out how am I doing that in my classroom, and how am I making that happen through the education I'm providing for the students in my classroom is really important to me. So, and I know that's a really high value in Irvine, and you see that happening across the district with amazing teachers doing some amazing things, and it really does start with understanding what makes learning more valuable for our students.
Yeah. I just read an article this morning in the Washington Post about, they were talking about how teachers need to reevaluate how they think people learn things. It's pretty interesting. But it talks a lot about that. You might want to check that out. how do you pass that on to your kids? Like, how do you inspire them to be risk takers and innovators?
I think it's just by modeling that in what you do and choose as far as your lessons in your classroom. I don't think that it starts any other way but through that. And also it starts with freeing up time so the kids can actually have the opportunity to explore things that they might be interested in, taking them down roads of learning and innovation themselves. So I think by looking at both of those aspects of like modeling for the kids, and when I say modeling, I don't mean like, hey boys and girls, I'm going to show you how to explore things and be innovative. It's more like in the choices that I make and what I'm doing in the classroom. And then
Can you give some examples of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like right now, Alexa, hello. Alexa, tell us a joke.
Music is coming out of the printer.
So Alexa's come into my classroom, and so I think it's like when the kids see me taking, that's a tech risk, so I thought I'd throw that in there for you.
Thank you.
When you take a risk like that and you do something that might not be expected, I think that's when the kids are like, oh, okay, I don't have to follow this prescribed way to success. In fact, there is no prescribed way to success, and that one assignment that I did is not a predictor of my future. What is that, am I willing to think differently? Am I willing to continue to grow and examine myself as a learner? Am I willing to reflect? And so the kids see that, and as I model, I say, wow, this Alexa thing's really cool, but where is there a fail in there? Where could we make errors in using it? Or how is it not as good as, you know, a person who can use inference and think for themselves and challenge things? And so I think it's showing them by just taking those risks like that, and that's an example. It's also, whenever I'm out of the classroom and I'm out learning somewhere, whether it's ed camp or a conference or whatever, and I come back and I talk to my students about what I learned. So I want to model to them that I'm actually out there learning too, and I love learning, and there's a reason to love it, because it can bring you joy, and it's something that people really can't take away from you. You can lose money, you can lose time even, but your knowledge and things like that is a really powerful thing. So to be continuous learners and modeling that, I think, I don't know if I got at the point there, but I kind of can't. But it's like that's it. That's modeling risk taking, or saying, hey, we're going to be the first class to try this. If it's a total disaster or mess, well, we learned something at least, and we can learn from it. So
yeah, I love that. And by the way, for those of you that are watching or going to watch this later, what Scott was using back there was an Amazon Echo, and it's this. Well, can you show it to him, or is it not?
Yeah, no, I can show it to him. Hold on. It looks like a giant Pringles can, basically. So Alexa, he's here. Alexa, tell us a joke.
Why do potatoes make good detectives? Because they keep their eyes peeled.
So, but I mean, that's not the sole purpose, is to tell jokes in the class. Well, that's fun too. But I could say, Alexa, Wikipedia, tell me about Oregon. Let's see if it works. Alexa, Wikipedia.
What should I look up?
Oregon.
Oregon is a state in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. Oregon is bordered on the west by the Pacific Ocean, on the north by Washington, on the south by California, on the east by Idaho, and on the southeast by Nevada.
So now
that is so cool.
Yeah, so I don't want them just to like use it for answers, but there's a point where they're going to need to critically think about what's coming out of these machines.
Yeah.
So the conversation then goes to, is Alexa accurate? Because she's getting information from a source. Is that source reliable? So
well, we know that we don't use Wikipedia as a source, right? Because
well, there's some verified. Well, I tell the kids this: Wikipedia is a great source if you verify with other sources. So just like any source can give us invalid information, even if it's like the Washington Post. I mean, even the best of sources can be inaccurate. So to test those sources with for their reliability is important. So that's the Pringles can that is Alexa or the Amazon Echo.
Right, right. And so you'll start seeing those all around the district. I know many, many people that have gotten those things, and I'm so
to the question I have.
Sorry.
I'm so interested to see what kind of learning comes out of those things, because that's pretty cool. And how awesome of your principal to buy those for every classroom in the school. Gosh, man, it all work at Plaza Vista, I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, this is a Donors Choose grant. And I have 4 in the classroom, so if I talk loud enough, they'll all like, start talking at us.
Okay, I see Brandon has made it from his journey. I think he is in a cab. Brandon, can you hear us?
Yeah. I can hear you. And Scott, I got your Washington Post right here for you.
Oh, there you go.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Check
Okay,
it.
Brandon,
It might not be too valid.
can you tell us what you're doing in Washington?
Darren, I think I've already told you too much at this point, what I'm doing. You know too much. No, I'm actually out here with Discover Education. They took 10 educators across North America, and they're starting a partnership champion program. I'm not sure what it all means yet. We're kind of, this is the first time it's been done, and no one knows what to expect, so I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I know it's going to be pretty awesome, and I'm excited to bring the resources back to share.
Excellent. Okay, so you missed out, but Scott told us a little bit about how he cultivates innovation and creativity and risk-taking in his classroom, and maybe you can speak on that about from yourself, your own perspective.
Yeah, you know, I think I heard that you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it, and you know, that's kind of one of our themes, is that, you know, you don't know what's out there, and how are you going to find out if you don't take risks, if you don't keep asking questions. The first or second question only gets you so far. It's the third question that really kind of delves you deep into getting more information. We're really into creativity. I like to, a lot of my students, they know what resources they have. They have, all these great tech tools that are available to them. My main goal is not to get them just to use one, expose them to a lot of things, and then from there, they can move their creativity forward. You can say, here's an assignment, and it's just like it's really just teaching about the years that everyone has been doing, just adding a small tech piece to it, I guess, if that makes sense, and just kind of being open to trying new things and not being one correct answer for everything. I was watching the movie The Internship on the way out here, the movie about Google, and they said, one line just, reminded me of some stuff. It's, hey, that's the answer. Yeah, but there's more than one right way to get to the answer. It's not about the journey, it's about the destination. As cheesy of a line that is, it's really true, so.
Nice. Okay, I see. Wow, we got 11 viewers. I was only shooting for 10. 12 now. If you guys have any questions, just open up your chat feature and type in a question for these guys, and we'll see if we can't get those questions answered, because really the goal of the Genius Hour is to connect our Irvine teachers together and give them an opportunity, a forum for them to collaborate with each other and connect with these like these two guys, for instance, today, where they would never have had that opportunity to talk to them or ask them a question. So whoever you guys are out there, 12 viewers out there, if you could ask them a question, that'd be fantastic, and we'll get those things answered. In the meantime, we're going to talk about a few things. I'm going to share my screen real quick. I'm going to show you this this animation. It's an animation that Brandon's class did last week. He's kind of setting the stage for a future project, but he was teaching them how to do animations through Google Slides. So he just, I was there when he rolled this out to them. He unpacked it. He just showed them how to make a few slides and how it animated, and this is what one of his kids came up with. So let's see here. There it is. Can you guys see that? Oh, it's going so slow, Brandon. Oh, it's not working for me.
It might be the screen share.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, as you can see, he. Let me stop sharing this. There I am.
Yeah, that's one of the old. That was a classic. What's that game called?
Breakout. Breakout, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So he turned his animation into this breakout game where the ball was going up and it was hitting one of the shapes and then it's disappearing. But it was pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think that one
Just an
was
example.
over 450 slides it took to do that. So just the creativity right there alone that student had to think of that. All I said was, my basic project was take a happy face and animate the happy face. And so, I had a bunch of students just take it from there and just really use their creativity, and this kid made a breakout game. And can I keep going, Darren?
Yeah, please go.
Okay. So the overall goal for this animation is that, like Darren was saying, down the line there's going to be a project. We're coming up on the water cycle here in 5th grade, and I would love for my students to make an animated working model of the water cycle, where they start with precipitation, they show rain coming down, and then evaporation, the water vapor going back up, and then condensation with the clouds. And I just want them to be able to animate that whole process. And this was just like Darren said, a basic background to build that ground level knowledge for them, and they should be ready to run. And that's another thing with creativity is when learning something new, it's always best to start with something you know, and usually kids know about themselves. So whenever starting a new project or starting a new tool, have them do something about themselves. That'll really get them to understand all the inner workings of the tool.
Awesome. Hey, we got a question here from Mr. Chris Linville. I'm working, boss, I swear. He asked,
you're innovating right now because you're taking a risk.
Totally.
Been done, so this is rad.
Okay. He says, do you involve parents with your vision about creativity and risk-taking? How do they react to this? Either one of you.
I do my best to communicate with the parents through as many means as possible, whether it's email. I use a site I really like called S'more. That's the really visually pleasing newsletters that show inside and try to explain what's going on in the classroom. So sometimes when you do things that are a little different, it's hard to make the connection between what's happening and that and learning, unless you're seeing it going on and hearing the conversations between kids. Like, for example, in background, I had the kids do a project after we came back off a break of designing our classroom arrangement. And so as simple as that sounds, it was very complex because they had to take a piece of construction paper, they had to scale down the furniture, they had to make a model and adjust it, and they also explained the purpose and reason that this would help learning their setup. So there was a lot of thinking and processing and analyzing and collaboration. They worked in teams of 3 to create that. So all of those things going together, but if you just heard what the project was itself, like set up the desks and chairs in an arrangement, it doesn't really sound like this deep learning project. But when you realize they had to convert centimeters or meters to centimeters and then scale the desks from 60 centimeters down to what would be equivalent on their page, now all of a sudden they're using all kinds of math skills embedded inside that project. But again, if you just look at the simple task itself, it doesn't seem that complex until you examine it a little bit more closely. So to try to share those through newsletters and different means, video, Twitter, whatever it might be, I tweeted out a picture of that so parents could see what was happening. And actually, one of the parent volunteers came in today and mentioned that she had seen it on Twitter. So using those means to actually share what's happening in the classroom, I think, is really important, so that they start to see that this different way of approaching education that's has its purpose and has its qualities behind it that might not be on the surface.
Awesome. How How about you, Brandon? How do you
Yeah,
loop your parents in?
first off, Scott, thanks for the great idea. I'm doing that first thing Monday when I get back. Um,
Exactly.
as Darren knows, I'm always looking for different ways to arrange my room, so perfect.
Hey, that's how all the good ones do it, man. We all borrow from each other.
Yeah, steal like a teacher.
We're not stealing, we're collaborating. You know, to answer that question, right at back to school night, I bring it up, and well, back to school night in general is just different. I mean, Scott, I know you do this as well, and Darren, you've done this before, but flipping the back to school night just makes it easy to have actual conversations with parents. And and then I say, this is not going to be like any other year your child has had. If we're going to do some things that might seem way, out of left field, but trust the process, and eventually we'll get there. And by the end of the year, the parents are like, oh, all right, I see it. But yeah, it's definitely involving them. Weekly, I use more of other newsletters and stuff to send home, and emails and stuff like that. We're not on Twitter, our class, but someday we will be. So yeah, you definitely got to keep the parents involved, and because they might have even a better idea to take it even further. You never know where your resources are going to come from.
Yeah, and I know, like for me, when when I was in my classroom, I always had a really open door policy where the parents knew that they could come in whenever they wanted. And that started from the very first moment those kids got in line. I invited every parent in, and I did a live stream from the classroom in the first day, so the parents that had to work, they were able to say hi at a point in the morning to their kids and see them sitting in their desks. So always having that open door policy goes a long way with involving your parents with the crazy things that we do in our classroom.
And Darren, I'll just add on to what Brandon says. Like, it really is about building that relationship and helping parents to understand that where you're coming from is from a place of desire to provide the best imaginable education you can for their kids, just like I would want for my son. And I know Brandon and our kids are in a class together this year, right, Brandon? So our own kids, I should say. And so, like, I want the very best for my son, so why wouldn't I want to also provide that in my own classroom for the parents who love and cherish their kids, that have them and have trusted us with their kids in our own classroom. So to establish that relationship and let them understand that the intention and the purpose behind what you're doing is not haphazard. It's not just I'm going to just do this because I think it's crazy or weird or different, but that there's an intention of wanting the kids to really expand their learning and become better learners. I think is a powerful message to send from the first day on, and even before the kids get into your classroom, to establish that reputation that you're going to do whatever it takes to impact in a positive way the lives of their kids.
Yeah, there's no. The best comment I have from a parent this year that I had last year was, yeah, so-and-so asked me, is it going to be okay being in your class? And the parent said, you know what, it's going to be like nothing before, but it was awesome, and my kid learned a lot, and he had to think. So that's all I want a child to do is think. Darren, going back to your open door policy for parents, you had a very good, not only for parents, but teachers as well. Other teachers, it's great to have an open door policy with them as well. Don't be afraid to let others come and see what you're doing. I know, Darren, last year when you first went to no only tables, no desks, I heard people saying, "Oh, Darren doesn't have any desks. What's he gonna do? He doesn't have any desks." But if you actually walked in there, you saw it fostered such an environment of collaboration.
Yeah, that brings up a good point of collaborating with teachers, and it kind of brings us back to why we started this Genius Hour idea. And I used Brandon and Scott not only because they have their own webcams and I knew I wouldn't have to be in the rooms with them, but it's because I know that these two gentlemen are very highly respected in our district, but you'll never come across two more humble human beings. Scott will tell you to your face that he's like, I am not the most techie person in the world, and Brandon is all kinds of certified, Google certified, and I don't know, Edmodo Master and Discovery Ed guy. He's in Washington D.C. right now, but they are so willing and they want to help other teachers. So if you have any questions for me or for Brandon or Scott, I know that these guys are a great place to start, and you can always email them, or they'd be willing to help you in any way they can. And I know that having traveled through our district a few times right now, there are so many teachers out there that are like that as well. So don't close your door and seclude yourself from the rest of the world. Open your door and collaborate with everybody, because that's
let us learn from you. Let us learn from you. We want to learn from you too.
Yeah. Okay. So next week we have Phil Campos and John Nakano and Alyssa Morris, and they're going to talk about classroom design and how that encourages learning in their environment. So be sure to tune in next week. It'll probably be around the same time. Phil teaches 5th grade at Portola Springs, and Alyssa and John teach 6th grade at Canyon View, so their lunchtimes are a little off. But tune into that. You can always watch these broadcasts later on YouTube, because they'll be uploaded shortly after the broadcast. And if you have any ideas or you want to participate in this, let me know. We'll get you on the show so you can watch it as well. All right. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to leave right now. You guys have any parting words for everybody?
Alexa, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Just thanks for doing this, Darren. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to doing many, many more of these. Have a good, safe trip in Washington.
Thank you, my friend.
Tell the president I said hi.
I will. I'm on my way to see him now.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Steve.
All right, bye.